Yo, what's up, man?
Hello.
How are
I'm
you?
good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. How was your ride today?
Oh, it was good. A bit longer than expected, so hence the slightly late call. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, man. You're at training camp right now?
Yes, we're in Lavinia, so it's nice. First time here, but we did like a nice loop today. Normally altitude it's a bit hit and miss. A lot of out and back rides and stuff, but today we managed to get a nice loop over like the Motorola and stuff, and then back over a nice climb from Bormio on the way back. So yeah, good day out.
How long you guys be there for?
I've been here already for about 2.5 weeks, I think. So I've got another 4 days left, something like that. I'll just go straight from here to Czech Tour after that. So it's worked quite nice, instead of having to go back to again and then travel to Czech Tour. We're just going to stay here a few more days extra, go straight to the race. So that's it's nice.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
My pleasure.
So what are like the big goals of a camp like this besides just getting miles in? You said you're at altitude, so is it more altitude based or what do you guys what's the like what's everybody trying to achieve there?
So I guess like for most people, the use of altitude is just to try and build your engine. Really, I'd say. I think if an altitude camp goes really well, like the idea is probably you recover better in a stage race back to back days.
Hmm.
And also, you'd hope you say, well, I think for sure, like your longer efforts should be better, like your 20 minutes, anything up from there. Um, and just your recovery, I think, in between efforts as well. You just become a bit more efficient.
Okay.
Um,
That's interesting. Yeah, I've never heard anybody really talk about the efficiency aspect of going to altitude, and that makes a lot of sense. I had always thought of more like just climbing, and that's really interesting. What does the race calendar look like for you that you know of for the rest of the year? Then the race you're going to, what is that one?
so that's Czech Tour. So that's a 4 day race.
Okay.
Um, every day looks well, other than the first day, which should be one for the sprinters. It looks good. It's three hard stages after that. I think all around 3,000 meters. So should
Ooh.
be well, if the legs are good, should be a good one for me. I hope so. Yeah, that'll be a nice one for me to kind of restart my season again after a bit of a rough start, really. So I
Mm.
look forward to it.
What do you do well at altitude? I hear 3,000 meters, and I'm like, ooh, that's hard to go hard there for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so we went up to Stelvio a few times in the last few weeks, and you feel that like 2,800 or something.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think here we're actually around 1,900, which is probably the lowest I've been for an altitude camp. But I like it actually. It means you can train a bit harder. I think day to day.
Hmm.
I mean, this is probably the most hours I've done on an altitude camp as well. So um, it'd be interesting, to see how I come out rather than staying at Sierra Nevada as I have done for the last few years, which is like 2,300 or something.
Mm.
I think there you probably feel a little bit more tired. Just recover a bit less. I think day to day, really.
Mm. When you mentioned having a rougher start to the season, people can look at results and make their own conclusions. But would you share when you look back, like what was the roughest part about it? What do you think kind of brought that on? Was it bad luck, things in training, just the body not feeling good? And if I ask you any questions that you don't feel like sharing, just be like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So kind of health problems down the line of well, it's funny. I think it sounds such a small thing probably to a lot of people, but my allergies I've been struggling with a lot for the last few years. And I think in the last few years, it kind of meant where I could perform in some races and not others. I wouldn't really know. It was never a linear thing, and I'd never know when it was going to hit me. I'd literally there was a few times last year I turned up to a race, I'd be in super good shape, and then I just have nothing.
Mm.
which was a shame. And to be honest, at the end of last year, after I had COVID around September time, I think that just triggered them, even worse. So even from January, when you wouldn't even expect to suffer from allergies, I was just cooked. I mean, I was putting in a week or two training, and then I was having 2 weeks off the bike,
And
and it was just kind of one step forward, two steps back for a long time, really. And I kind of hoped I'd got better before Romani, but then again, like the kind of I think because my body's working overtime to try and fix itself. I think with this, and then when I'm training hard, then I'm just a bit KO'd again, really. So it was it was quite hard for a fair few months there, really.
mm,
Thankfully, in the last 2 months, I'd probably say I've managed to get on the right side of it, and I've been able to put a good 2 months training in now. Big block here in altitude, and haven't had any issues, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest.
fingers crossed for you,
Yeah,
man. That's COVID has been such a bear, and since it's so different for everybody, and the long lasting effects are brutal. Yeah, hate that for you, but hopefully this is the way up. And that's actually kind of a good sort of first question of, I usually am curious how athletes sort of look at the season coming up. How did you, as you're coming out of COVID, say, okay, I got the second half of the season here? Like, how do you shape your training from where you were starting and to get going, to kind of get to where you are now and where you're trying to go for the rest of the year? How did that look? And do you do this by yourself? Do you have a coach, or how does that break down?
yes, I have a coach through the team who I've worked with since, maybe the end of 21, I think it was. So yeah, we work well together. And yeah, I think, to be honest, he takes a lot of the leeway, and also obviously he asks me how I feel and things day to day.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to be super patient, on really until mid May, when I'd get on the right side of things. For a while it was just see how you feel today, for months, because he couldn't really set me a session, because I'd work at one day cooks, and then so it was more I did, a lot of months of just ran to the cafe and back, and this, and then maybe if I felt better one day, just a few random side sprints with a few mates or what have you. Well, so on the plus side, I think my sprint got better doing it, but no, I mean from there. So once we kind of really thoroughly felt like I was getting on the right side of things, then we started straight away with some proper structure. And then from there, I've just been I was heading into, well, I did nationals, and then I was heading into altitude camp here, just doing still more base, because it was kind of like I'd come out of off season, really.
Mm.
So I've just been building back up again, a few efforts and things, and then here just done some really solid work. So it was, almost just like, I'd kind of picture it as coming back from in January kind of shape,
Mm-hmm.
you can't, you kind of fit, you can do the hours, but you still need to build your engine and stuff. So that's kind of what it's been like, really. And to be honest, I love it. I love the kind of the journey of getting stronger again. I always love that coming out of off season. You feel like you've never ridden a bike before, and then you come back and another 10 watts there in training, 20 watts, and then before you know it, you lose a bit of weight and you kind of back to where you want to be. So it's a good feeling.
It's all, I hope people that are listening, if you can see the video, it's like you can see Mason just smiling a little bit as he's talking about this. And that, I love hearing that from you, because it's like, for amateurs, I have this, you come out of winter and you're starting to think of the races, you're talking to your teammates, you're doing this, and it's you're building up as you're talking, just builds this excitement for the year. And it's cool to hear, sometimes people say, oh, pros can get jaded, it's their job, but you're still loving it. And that's really awesome to see you have that excitement for it. When you say you're coming out and you're starting to do work, what kind of sessions do you like to do, or that you found have helped you get ready for the races coming up in that type of time period, coming out of base, maybe you're going into early spring races? There are things that just kind of like, dude, this just like keys me up and gets me ready to go.
Yeah, so I mean, I think probably a lot of my friends would probably laugh at me. You know, I'm someone who kind of likes to go out and smash himself on the bike. You know, yeah, every kind of opportunity I get, you know, I like to just put the put the nail in the coffin, I think, so to speak. But I don't know. Probably depends what kind of time frame we're talking. But you know, if maybe a month out from the race, and I'd want to do a few more VO2s and stuff. Also, you know, depend on the race. There's a few sessions that I really like, which is just like a tempo session with a sprint every like 2 minutes or something.
Mm.
Um, so that's more
Yes,
like
let's get super granular because people always want me to ask this. Are you for like when you say VO2, do you like 5 minute intervals? Do you like 30-30s? Do you like this like mixture, this like tempo to hard sprint, or is it just varied by whatever your coach puts down?
yeah, I mean we talk about it, but I normally just I'm quite relaxed in a sense where, you know, I have a lot of trust in my coach, and if he sets me a session, you know, 99% of the time I think it looks good, you know, so I won't really question it. I'll just go out there and I'll do it. But I'd say like probably prefer like the session we do, which is like 15-15s, 20-20s, 30-30s.
Okay.
Um, and then maybe some like if you're really trying to hurt yourself, then or maybe some 20-minute kind of effort at the end. Um, I love that session. Yeah, it's just because you end up with probably an average power for the 5 minute block of what you'd be doing your VO2 max at.
Mhm.
But you know, you've for me just those like micro rests are great. You know, I just like that
It's the
kind of
fastest 15 seconds ever, though. It's like the rest is already done and you're back on the gas. I hate those, so I'm glad
yeah.
you enjoy them.
I love them. To me, it's just like a 15-second effort. You know, I just don't think about the other 10 I've got after. Yeah.
How's the 20-minute power after you do that? Do you have a number that you're targeting, or are you just like, I'm just gonna rip 20 with whatever I've got?
Um. Well, it probably won't be like a full gas 20. I've got a session I think in a few days, which is more just like, I think it's something like just to hurt the legs, you know,
Hmm.
kind of more like what you do just to fatigue the legs in a climb. I think it's like 5 minutes at 6, and then 5 minutes easier at 5, and then 10 minutes at 5.5 or something like that. So you probably end up with like 5.5 for a 20-minute block, you know. Just something like, you know, you're probably going to do that in a race on a climb just
You
right
talking
in
about
there.
watts
So
per kilo?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Is that how you guys gauge everything? Like, hey, go do this watts per kilo, go do this.
I mean, obviously, like a 15-15, you're not
Yeah.
gonna,
Right.
you never really set a number. But no, I think my coach being a climber, he also in his career he likes the watts per kilo, you know.
Okay. Who is
Um,
your coach?
Ruben Plaza.
Okay. That's interesting. I've never heard anybody like think about it that way. I like that. And
Yeah, it's a funny one because you're thinking like in your head you don't want to cheat the session, you know. So I maybe a lot of the time do it as if I'm a kilo heavier, you know, like because I don't want to just mysteriously drop like 10 watts, you know. I always want
yeah.
to do the same or if not more than what I did before, you know. So but I like it in the sense where, you know, I feel like he knows on a climb what you're gonna do for half an hour, you know, at the end of a race or something. So
That's
it's
cool.
good to gauge yourself what you need to do to be there, you know.
And then so outside of that, do you normally use power targets then? Do you use heart rate at all or like RPE?
Yeah, so we started using more RPE the last year and a half probably.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably something I'm still getting used to a bit, you know, with the sorry,
That's all right.
with the gauge. Um,
What sessions do you use RPE on more?
well, it's more so he's still set the power, but he's also doing it. So say at altitude now, it's used a lot of the time because he doesn't want you going too deep, you know,
Hmm.
maybe in the first few weeks. So it might be like a session what he thinks in his head is an RP of 6 or 7. But he's just checking with you just to stay at 6 to 7 RP. If
Mm.
you're going out on those watts and it's 9, then you just need to know when to back it off. And not go too deep.
That's interesting. I like that. I like having both on there. What's off the bike? Do you get in the gym at all, or do you think it's not worth it?
No, I love the gym, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, not that anything impressive happens in there for me, but no, I just like just to try and reduce the chance of a bit of injuries and stuff, and just also like I think when you're getting leaner in the summer, it's quite easy to lose a bit of muscle mass, and just trying to, not that it's such a big problem, but just trying to keep like what you started with, or minimize how much you're losing.
So you get in there all year long, all year around?
I mean, I might miss 2 or 3 weeks if it's like a race, or like I don't normally like doing it the week before a race.
Hmm.
But normally I'd aim for once a week. Yeah.
And what are your favorite lifts? You say nothing crazy is happening there, but what do you like to go? What are your go-tos?
Front squat and deadlift. I'd say those are my two. He tends to try and keep me away from the leg press, because I've got a nasty habit of just going in there and just smashing out the leg press full gas.
It's like the
Um,
cyclist in you. You're like, I feel great. I'm gonna go shred myself, and then you go out and you like can't ride zone two. It's hard to
well,
pass.
yeah, it's like the one thing I can go in there and be kind of half impressed with. But yeah, so
That's
that's
awesome.
nice. Yeah.
What do you think over the years that you've learned about cycling that's made you better at cycling?
Ooh, learn about. Oh, I just say like just trying to relax. I think it's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself, um, and just like I think such an important part is just enjoying it all.
Mm,
Enjoying the moment, enjoying like the journey of where you're going, and just yeah, I don't know, just see the beauty in every aspect of it. I don't think it's easy for me as well to be too serious and maybe beat yourself up if you have a bad race, but I think it's one race or
mm.
whatever. It's just enjoy doing it. I think yeah.
Dude, it's an awesome mindset. That's actually like very similar thing just came up with another guy and we were chatting about it. I'm like, man, you got to remember that he was in Portugal. I'm like, you open your back door, like you're looking outside, you're in Portugal, like you got this amazing, you're riding a bike, you're racing. It's like a lot of people your guys' age, they're getting out of school and they're like going to a 9 to 5 that they don't like. So I like having that mindset, Mason. That's awesome. It's like there's so many people that are gonna watch this and be like, I would love to be in your shoes. So yeah, always remember that. It's really that's good to hear. What do you when you talk about like you have maybe a bad race or maybe you get you went through a tough stretch, what's the mindset to be like, okay, I got to put that in the past, I need to move forward? That I imagine that can be really hard. You're in a super competitive sport, you're in a job that is, we all know how hard it is to be a pro cyclist. Sponsors change things, like when things aren't going great, how do you, okay, I got to refocus and I got to stay after this? What's your like, do you have something that just helps you stay focused there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got to have a great like support network, family, friends, and
Mm,
and things. And I think that's always going to be a huge help. Just knowing that people want the best for you, I think. And also, yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it's a savage sport, and I think you've got to love what you do, and I think obviously you never take winning a race for granted or anything like this, but I think for me the winning's a great thing, and I think that's you always want to come back and win a bike race. There's not much better feelings
mm.
than winning a bike race. Well, not for Billy Joe off the street, but for me, for a cyclist, it's a super nice thing. And yeah, I mean, just to be back, like on the start line being competitive, or and also, I still feel like a little kid sometimes when I'm racing with people I looked up to. I'm on a team with Chris Froome. I spent
Crazy.
I spent like 10 years of my life idolizing this guy. So it's just to even be on the start line with him is motivating itself.
Totally. Who's who, and maybe it's Chris, who in the pro ranks that you're still looking around like, damn, dude, like we're kind of peers now. I'm here too in the race. Do you have any like mentors that have been extra helpful in getting you up to where you're at now?
I mean, I did. I remember last year, the start of last year, I did a camp in Gran Canaria just with Froome, just me and him, and that was super cool. And yeah, obviously at the time I was still in the Conti team, so I was just there doing the work with him, and just 2 weeks just out there smashing each other on the bikes. That was mega. So yeah, I'd obviously say Froome is someone I've looked up to for, like I say, yeah, 10 years, maybe more. Ever since I was a kid, watching those tours like from 2012. Yeah, all those, and obviously Alaphilippe's someone I've always thought was super cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
His riding style. Yeah, those two probably. I know very different riders, but yeah, I think Alaphilippe just so much panache.
Mm-hmm. They're both electric in their own way. I would definitely agree with that. What do you think when you look back on that training camp with Chris Froome? What sticks out to you as like a good lesson, or that just maybe a really good memory of that?
To be honest, just how down to earth I think he was really. Just like we just go out on the bike, have a laugh, get the work done, and ride back. And also just I think the simplicity of just being there, and all you have to do is just relax and ride your bike. The
Mm.
hotel, was on the beach, and I'm someone who probably quite likes the simpler aspects of life. Just give me give me a roof over my head and some good people around me, and I just love getting out there and just enjoying riding, chilling on the beach or whatever, eating food. That's a big one. Um,
What's the favorite
yeah,
food?
depends what country I'm in at the time. I think.
Nice. That's
Um,
okay. I like that.
I I'm probably gonna have to say something Italian now. There might be someone Italian listening to me. Um, or pasta. Pasta is such a wide variety of pastas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good one. Something chorizo, chicken and chorizo pasta, something like that.
Interesting. All right. What do you, when you look forward to the rest of the season, what's one of the biggest things you're trying to improve on?
Yeah, I think I'm still unsure really of what kind of rider I am. I guess like obviously I'm a climber, but I don't know if I prefer the shorter stuff or the longer stuff.
Hmm.
But I guess just giving it every race, it's the full opportunity, and just seeing which one I'm best at really, and also, or for me, just getting back on the right now, just keep it simple. I think getting back on the start line and trying to be up there. Obviously at the same time, it is my first pro season, so it's I don't want to put too much pressure on it from that, but obviously I want to see what I can do as well. So
Mm-hmm. When you're looking, when you're, still kind of discovering yourself and you're maybe not knowing every race that you're going to go to all the time, how do you guys plan out, do you have a biggest target race for the year, or do you and your coach say, hey, maybe we're not going to do this like traditional peak and have a massive overload and then taper into this race because we don't really know what's going on? Or are you more like, hey, I'm at 95% for every race because every race is an opportunity. I'm like really figuring out my role here and things like that? Or how does that, I don't know if I'm verbalizing it the best way, but does that make sense? Like, how are there any like big targets, or is it like, hey, I'm going to be as good as possible for every race?
yes, I'd say normally you have got a target. I think for me, it's really nice to have a target. Obviously, you know, you've got to be changeable, I think, in the sport. You know, and I think if you want to have these targets, maybe you've got to prove to the team and things that you know you deserve to be able to have your calendar, I think, planned for a race, you know. And I think to be honest, the team's been great with me the last few years. I've always had like a clear target. Obviously, I was in the under 23s then, so
Mm.
but always had like a clear target and a clear run into the races. And I think this year I would have also had the same, to be honest. But I just obviously with it being a bit of a wage year now, it's just trying to get myself fit in super good shape and get on the start line. And then I think from there, you know, we've been a bit more relaxed because first we need to make sure that I can get on the start line, and then you know from there step by step, then we can start setting goals, you know, and targets and things like this. I think.
Cool. Is there anything in your daily routine that shows the biggest return to your success in cycling?
I'd have to say sleep. Sleep's such an important thing. I think.
How
Just
much sleep are you aiming for?
I'm a 9 hour kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm to be honest, I wouldn't say I always get 9 hours, but 9 hours is good. You know, if I can be lights out like just before 11, which doesn't always happen. Then in my head, if I can be asleep before 11 and then wake up like 8, that's like that's good for me here. You know,
Oh,
obviously it changes at races and stuff and caffeine and stuff and can be difficult, but I think if it's over 8 hours, I'd say I feel good. You know, I wake up feeling refreshed.
yeah.
That's an
Cool.
important thing.
So this next question I'm curious about, and I get some guys, we've kind of on the podcast, people listening are, you know, some Conti riders and some people trying to get up to that level. And I was curious, can you explain, and maybe there's not really that big of a process, it might be very straightforward, like when you went from the IPT Academy team and then you're moving up to the Pro Conti team, kind of within the same family, how does that work? Like other riders that haven't gone from like within the same crew, they're like, you know, having to reach out to other teams through their coach, or they might have a manager or things like that. Is there like any tips you could give to riders who might be in your shoes, or is it as simple as, hey, Mason, you're starting to crush these races, we're going to move you up to the next level next year? Or how does that work? And if it's something you don't want to talk about, we can cut that out.
No, for sure. I think you know, I think normally when someone signs you for a development team, then, well, in my opinion, they must be interested or they
Mm-hmm.
must believe in you in some stance for the pro team. You know, so I think you're already in a good place. And then I think from there, there's probably, or off the top of my head, three things that they're important. You know, results, obviously, probably the person you are. You know, you don't want to be someone who's super hard work. You know, I think if you're hard work and things, and maybe not the best person to always be around, then you've probably got to be a pretty good rider to to get there. You know,
Yeah.
and then obviously the next thing is probably your numbers. You know, just
Mhm.
your power numbers. And obviously, I think you need all three a little bit or more of one, more of the other. Obviously, results are always going to be the most important, I'd say. Um, but yeah, just like showing a linear improvements year on year, I'd say the super important thing, you know.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. People ask me that sometimes, like, how do I become a pro? I'm like, I'm not a pro. We should start asking this question. So it's going to be, I'm going to put a list of
No problem.
cues for people. What's, is there any failure that you've had in racing or life that ended up being just a great lesson that kind of, when you look back, you're like, man, that sucked at the time, but actually that really catapulted me forward in a way?
Yeah, so I'd say the big year. You know, I spent probably, you know, the start of the year went super well. I did like Liège, Baston Liège, under 23, and a few Italian one days, and I just felt super good. I took a little bit of time off and then got back into it. Went to Sierra Nevada with the team there. Um, think yeah, it was a good running. You know, maybe not perfect, but you know, I felt in super good shape, and it was a race that I've always ever since I was a first year and I did it. It's a race that I've always wanted to go and do a big result in, and yeah, I'd kind of geared up a lot of my year for that. And for one reason or another, I just got on the start line and I just, from day one, really, I just didn't feel like I had anything, in the legs or what have you. And I didn't really have such an answer for that. Maybe now I understand it a bit more why. But I put a lot of pressure on myself for that, and also there was a lot of guys in the team I think who had trust in me for that race, and they'd worked hard for me, and I was super disappointed more so as well not to do it for them. So that, yeah, obviously that was a big disappointment. So after that, I took like a week off the bike, or 2 weeks, went home for my birthday, had a good time with my friends, and then came back to Aosta and then won the first stage there. So I think it told me a few things, it's that you could relax. Being relaxed is so important. Not putting too much pressure on yourself in the situation. I think you're always going to have pressure, but just learning to deal with it. But also, I think the worst pressure is the pressure you put on yourself. So just relaxing, and yeah, like I said at the start, just enjoying it, and you're here to have fun. You're not here forever. So what's the point in stressing yourself out, really? Yeah, and then from there, that taught me that, and it also taught me, maybe the running doesn't have to be what you think it is, and you can still go well. Maybe actually having a week off and then another week super easy, going out drinking with your friends actually goes all right. I'm sure a few of my mates will probably get on board with that as well. So, yeah, so I'd say.
That's awesome, man. You have some very wise words for being a young ripper out there. I love that. Let's talk about nutrition real quick. And on the bike, huge thing that always gets asked for me to ask people is, and if we can maybe break it into like long ride nutrition and then a race nutrition, are you liquid carbs? Do you like gels and bars and whatever? Are you whole foods? How do you kind of break those two out?
So normally, I like the first hour of the ride. I like to start with a big burger.
What? Get out of here.
Nah, I'm joking.
I'm like, dude, I can't even believe that.
Nah, I'm kidding. I'd say I'm turning into a bit of a liquid carbs kind of guy.
All the time?
No, I'd say first half of the race, I'll try and eat some proper food.
Okay.
We've started doing these. What do they call them? Rice crispy kind of bars. Basically, it's just like Rice Krispies and marshmallows, but I think marshmallows with like less fat and more sugar kind of thing.
Okay.
And I love those. They're a big hit on this camp so far. And they're nice, they're super light, and I just like stuff that is light on the stomach, really. So yeah, I'd probably go for a few of those, maybe for the first 2-3 hours, and then some other bars and stuff, and then yeah, go in with the big boy gels and or always carb mix, something, maybe a few waters mixed in there if it's a hot day, but yeah, always one bottle cage is gonna have some carb mix in.
What about a training ride?
I'd say similar. On camp, obviously, we've got everything here, so pretty similar. I like to keep it the same, really, training to racing. Try and train the gut a little bit. I don't want to just go from eating like 50 grams of carbs and training to trying to smash 100 in a race. It's never a great idea. Maybe it's a bit different at home, when you've not quite got like all the nutrition products there. But no, I try and keep it quite similar with that. Depends on the ride, as well. Maybe I'm not going to be smashing gels if I'm doing just an endurance ride, but
is 100 grams in the back of your mind as like a target for you on a hard race, or are you just kind of eating by feel, or how do you do that?
I say, yeah, that's probably in my head. I wouldn't say I'm super strict with it. Like I have to have that. Maybe
Mhm.
sometimes I have more, sometimes a bit less, but just for me, probably just like a carb mix and something to eat every hour kind of thing, or a gel and a mix. Yeah, that that's roughly 100 if you've got 50 grams in your bottles or
Mhm.
80 grams, whatever you got there.
Cool. What are you big into cycling tech at all?
Uh, Not hugely. I
Okay.
used to be. I used to be actually when I was a junior more so. But now I'm kind of like I don't know. There's no point in caring anymore because we get our equipment and I'm just like I don't some I don't want to look at other equipment. I just want to. I'm happy with what I ride and I'm happy with our bikes and things. So I'm just content with that. I'm
What bikes
happy
you
being
guys
like
ride? What
in
bikes you
the
guys ride this year?
factors,
Okay.
the Austria.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got like I think it was a new cockpit this year, so that's super nice, like aero bar and stem
Uh,
combo and stuff. Yeah, I'm a
yeah.
big fan.
So they get you set up. You're just ready. Just give me a good bike. I'm ready to rip. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And
Cool.
I'd rather sometimes just live in the unknown. If someone else has got whatever crazy fast bike, I'd rather just be unknown. Um, if that is the case, but
Yeah.
yeah, for me, our bike's super fast, so I like it.
There you go. What's these questions always kind of stump people. Maybe I don't know anything underrated in cycling right now that be like people are just not on this tip. And maybe if you're not into tech, it's not a thing for you. But anything that you're like, man, I can't believe people aren't into this.
Underrated. Ooh. Oh, if we're going like really into like performance, I'd say like mental training.
Oh,
Having
even
having
on that.
having a having a refreshed mind. Meditation, reading, this kind of thing. I think like just really having a fresh mind for it all. That's huge. I think.
And so you mentioned meditation and reading. Are those your sort of like coping skills to having a fresh mind, or what do you do? And when you say fresh mind, is it just after being banged up from a huge training block or like a ton of racing, you're like, yo, I need to chill? Or what do you mean by that?
I think I just feel like when just having like a free mind, like nothing on your mind, like
Mm.
no stress or worries, and I believe everything's like energy in some way, So I think if you're always worrying about one thing to another, then you're using energy what could be used on racing or training or other things. I think just yeah, and I mean I'm only just really getting on the meditation kind of side of things with that, but I think when I get into a good routine of that and turning the phone off an hour, half an hour before bed and just having a read with some music or something, then that's when I feel
What
super
are
good.
what are some of the best reads of late?
I just nearly finished the Chimp Management, or is it Chimp Paradox
Hmm.
book?
Interesting.
Um,
Paradox.
Chimp Paradox, the Chimp Paradox. Yeah, that's what it is.
Interesting.
So I think that's like it's like a book done by a mental coach in the UK. And he's like worked with, I think he worked with Bradley Wiggins a bit, Chris Hoy, kind of the track team,
Mm.
London 2012 Olympics kind of scene, I think. Um, yeah, I find that super interesting read. There's some like exercise in there which you can do.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think that just really, I'm really into like the mind and the body and I think that really helps you to understand like kind of what goes on there, and from there I think you can really look at maybe what you're doing wrong or what you can improve on so so what have you.
Yeah, I love that. No, I'm gonna look into that book. It's interesting you say paradox. I'm reading this book, Passion Paradox, by a guy, Steve Magnus, that some of the people might have read. He did Peak Performance, Do Hard Things, and he's got another book out. But They don't talk about this book that often, and somebody recommended it to me, The Passion Paradox. It's awesome. So let's go on the other side of the coin. What's overrated in cycling, training, racing, anything bike related?
Overrated. Good question. That is a good question. Overrated.
You're so chill in the cut that those things might not affect you. You just let it like pass by you. That's not even taking up space in your head.
Yeah, I honestly, there's absolutely nothing that really springs to mind. Yeah, I think there's so many marginal gains in this sport. I don't think there's any. I mean, maybe there's something you can say is overrated, but everything people's doing is for a reason, you know. And I think, yeah, there's probably nothing. I mean, I'm watching the tour now, and I'm trying to think, but there's probably nothing that really springs to my mind that's overrated.
Oh, that's cool.
No, to be honest,
Nothing.
yeah,
Yeah. Can you finish this sentence? I never dot dot dot.
I have never. Oof, I I have never not been out of the convoy while taking a natural break.
This is funny. Every time going to the bathroom has come up in this question, and someone was like, "This is such an awkward question." I'm like, "I'm just gonna keep asking you because I get really weird responses." What's I got just a couple more for you. What do you think, and especially maybe if you keep in mind a younger cyclist that's watching you, they're looking at your racing, they're trying to get to your level, and you've already given some really good tips, but maybe a couple skills for success or tips for success as being trying to become a pro cyclist, or even just becoming a better cyclist, because everybody doesn't have the gifts to become a pro, just trying to improve, let's say.
Yeah, I think nowadays skills goes a long way. Just having confidence on a bike, knowing in a rip, you know, I think if you're a good descender, it's crazy how much energy you can save. You know, if you're confident in the peloton, you know, you can save so much energy doing this. And I think maybe probably when I was younger, I learned quite a lot from how to save my energy in a pack, just because, you know, I was some little tiny kid and just getting smashed every weekend by some huge men basically, and I had to learn like how basically just had to stay with them at the time. So from there, I kind of learned, you know, well, I mean, I suffered a lot, but also, yeah, just getting tucked in on those wheels. But yeah, of course, like echoing as well, just what I said before about enjoying the journey. I'd say that's always most important. Like enjoy the improvements and enjoy even the bad days, you know, because you know there's after that at some point a good day is going to come.
Mm.
I think yes. I don't know. Some wise man once said to me, and it's always been in my head from there. Like I think people spend too long looking for the end of the path, and then before you know it, that's you've just wished away like a lot of your life, one in the end. You know, I think maybe you do it more when you're a little kid. Like you want you want that moment, or you can't wait for the moment you're in this category or whatever. Just enjoy enjoy coming out of off season and being fat and bonking on your ride home or whatever. You know, just know there's a cake waiting at the door that you're not going to be eating in summer.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's what it goes.
I think, man, that resonates so much. And I think it's easy for us to get fixated on that next quote unquote destination. And it's easy to forget though that then when we get there, there's going to be another destination that we want to go to. And it's like if we're always just chasing that, and like you're saying, it's yeah, it's not as enjoyable as trying to just wake up and enjoy the day and just whatever comes with it. You never know. It's like life throws curveballs that we don't see coming. So
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I think the way I see it is probably, you know, you're looking for the peak of a hill and then you get to the top and it's like, oh, there's another peak, you know? Just
mhm.
turn around and enjoy the view of the first one, you know?
Wise words, Mason, man. You actually answered my last question there as well. Was there, oh, actually, I always forget to ask this. What's the best way for people to keep up with you? Obviously, you're on Instagram, Strava. And do you like blog or Twitter or anything else as a good way for people to catch up with you?
Probably Instagram. Instagram's a good shout. To be honest, I wouldn't say I'm the best on the old social media. I probably don't go on it a huge amount.
That's
But
probably
no, I'd say Instagram's a good shout. I think I do maybe still have a website, but I can't. Yeah, I'll have to get back on that. I'm an awful tech guy, I'll tell you that. I think my granddad, my 80-year-old granddad, might be better on tech with tech than me, to be honest.
I love it, man. Hey, it's I think a little bit less social media is good for a lot of us. So I wouldn't you seem you're very grounded. You have a great vibe about you. I honestly wouldn't worry about missing out on what's going on social media. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll post links to Mason's social media. You can catch up with him if he posts, but most importantly, keep up with him in the races. And we'll talk to you all soon.